No one disputes how important the mental part of the game is, correct, David, if you think about it? Yet the frustrating part, whether it's at a facility, travel team organization, teams or whatnot, if 90% of the game, and as you get further up the food chain, it's even more, if it's truly the mental part of the game, then you got to ask yourself from a training standpoint, how much time are you spending on what really matters? And the numbers don't add up. The formula makes most sense, right? In the typical training session of an hour, and we're as guilty here as most other facilities, they come in, they work out, they do their movement, they do their prep work, they do their skill work, and they leave. Well, we just said that 90% of their failure or frustration is what's going on from the neck up. So how do you, as the master teacher or someone who owns a facility, really integrate this? It's very frustrating to see, Tony, what you talk about is really, really important, but we don't have time for it. We don't have time for it. But we just said that performance setbacks are more geared to this topic. When do you start making mental skills training, age-appropriate mental skills training, visual mental skills training appropriate? Because in my world, vision and mental are the same animal, right? There is no distinction between it. But at some point, how do you bring this into every single class or program that's going on? Whether you're working with 6 and under players, how do you take a class of 6-year-olds and introduce mental skills training? Well, we did it yesterday. You saw young Angel and his friends, right, understand the power of Debbie. They understood, we didn't have the toilets out yesterday, but they understood the importance of learning how to let go. In the class before, we sat there for a good minute or so, and we just simply went through some best flicks with them. Close your eyes and look at the Statue of Liberty, right? Pink dinosaur, purple elephant. That's the beginning of making and having better visualization skills, or as we call it, best flicks. That's what should be done in every single class. Look at about all the time people doing strength training. All the wasted time they have in between sets and reps. Well, I'm cooling down. I'm getting ready for the next rep or whatnot. What a great opportunity to practice open focus training, which we're going to walk you through. What a good way to create in your mind's eye the skill that you're eventually working on, because most guys that are working out are doing it to get better at a skill. So what if they were so disciplined, and again, the best athletes, it's about what you're doing when no one's around that counts. They are just better. They are masters at 1,440. That magical number that tells us that's how many minutes in a day are. So when you're strength training or doing your water bag training, to what extent can you practice and get better at some of these mental skill training tools that we're talking about? You can do it all the time, right? You can at least get and start creating the different breathing symphonies that we talked about. You can get better at visualization in between. At the end of a session with a group, you sit them down here. You let them simply ride their breath. Ride their breath is a teaching term that I use to just let them simply sit there and just listen to themselves breathe. It's the beginning of meditation, right? Just sitting there quietly. We need more of that in this country, right? We all do as adults and as young children. Yet we don't have time to do mental skills training. Tony, we don't have time to do vision training. It's a hypocrisy, because that's the reason why guys never get a chance to either forget playing in the big leagues, but make a high school team. Because we're so enamored with what? The skill work. We're so enamored with the muscles. Yet we all know, anyone who's been teaching or coaching in this industry know that competitive anxiety, inability to deal with frustration, being your own worst enemy, the fear factor, self-esteem issues, confidence issues, losing perspective, those are the reasons why guys struggle in games. Yet we don't forget about making it a priority. We don't even introduce it or try to integrate it into facilities or in mainstream instruction. That has to change if we're really concerned not only about making better athletes, but actually helping some of these young children have better life skills and coping skills when they get older.